Welcome, everyone. You are here for this week's episode of Mind Power Meets Mystic. I am Michelle Walters, the Mind Power part of our show. I am a hypnotherapist and human development coach. I am here with my podcast pal, Cinthia. Cinthia is our show mystic. We are excited to have a guest, a very special guest, and a good friend of mine on today's show. Her name is Marie Bowser. Marie Bowser is a Feng Shui consultant, an expert in the five elements, and a licensed acupuncturist. She credits her past life as an engineer with causing stress related health issues and ultimately sending her on a journey to study Chinese medicine. Once she dove in, she didn't want to come back out. In addition to Chinese medicine, she has the privilege of bringing together Feng Shui, Qigong, and the I Ching and 9-star key astrology to help people achieve freedom, ease, and joy in their bodies and lives. Welcome, Marie.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, Cynthia. It's fun to be here this morning.
So I met Marie maybe 9 months or a year ago, something like that, out there networking. And Marie knows lots of people I know and is in a field that I think is absolutely fascinating, which is Chinese medicine and acupuncture. And I've been to see her in aces. Got to go for that. But I was so excited when Marie told me that she is creating an extension to her business and going into a topic that Cinthia and I find fascinating and that we've always wanted to have somebody on our show to talk to us about, but never found the right guest. And then appeared Marie. Marie's new business is, well, tell us, Marie, tell us about the
Yeah.
extension to your business that you are starting now.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I love about Chinese medicine is that it's a never-ending possibility for what to learn and study, right? I can study diagnosis, acupuncture, herbs, and then there's this whole esoteric um, kind of peripheral content. And feng shui is one of those things that's sort of like on the periphery of Chinese medicine. Some would even say it's part of Chinese medicine, right? Your whole entire life. Um, you are not just a walking knee, you're not just a walking lung with allergies. You are a whole system, an ecosystem that's influenced by your relationships, by the food that you eat, by the weather, and your home. And, I encountered feng shui when I was in school. A friend of mine was practicing, and I was just starting to think about how my business was going to work because I knew as an acupuncturist I was going to start my own business. And it was my husband and I were having some stress about it, like money conversations. And she helped me with some feng shui remedies to bring in a little bit more harmony, bring a little bit more strength to my own voice and my own vision. And it caught my attention. I mean, the things that I experienced with that were enough to just keep me going. And through the years, I would use feng shui in my home and in my business. And finally, I got to a point where I just wanted to dive in a little deeper. So yeah, one of the things, yeah, my husband's an architect. That's the other thing that is interesting about my relationship with him, and the thing that made me enthusiastic about this particular style of feng shui that I practice is that it relies more on intention and kind of like spiritual cultivation than others. And so if someone is less excited about traditional feng shui remedies, like he's very aesthetically simple in his style, I found it to be exciting and fun for coming up with creative ways of dealing with creating shifts in your home. Yeah. Did I answer the question?
You did. It
I
really
think I just
did.
meandered a little bit, but
No,
yeah,
no,
it's
no. It's really beautiful. The thing that I really like about what you're talking about, especially bringing your husband in as an architect, just
mm,
for our listeners, traditional feng shui relies on a compass and direction.
mhm,
Your form of practice is that because it's spiritually situated, or spiritual cultivation, that you don't have to rely on the directions as much as you do traditionally, which means that the cures are different than what is done in traditional feng shui. Does that sound for the listeners who don't know a lot about feng shui? Does that sound good?
yeah, very traditional feng shui does rely on compass directions. This system, it does place the Bagua map at the front door.
Mhm.
And the innovator of this, I, the spiritual aspect of it, I think in some ways is separate from this decision. Like he's very spiritually motivated, and how we practice the system, and then he probably through his own spiritual cultivation realized the simplicity that we had available to us. But yes, it does rely very heavily on spirituality. It's a blend of the system is called Black Sect Buddhist Feng Shui, and it draws upon Buddhism, Taoism, Confucianism, Bon, which is a Tibetan indigenous religion, and then even some pre-Taoist indigenous folk wisdom. And together, this, these traditions inform sort of the more intentional and spiritual techniques used in this feng shui tradition. And certainly we also use, you know, not just the spirit, but, basic things like color, symbolic images. There is the fun or like the palpable, things we think of in feng shui. If someone wants to use crystals, we can do that. But I think the spiritual piece allows for a little more flexibility and how we work. And frankly, also, there's like a richness to it, or I would even say like a quality of supercharging the work that you're doing when you add that spiritual layer. It like brings a little bit more of you
Right.
to what it is you're trying to shift. It's not just like, oh, I put two crystals in the relationship corner. It's like, and I've added my prayers to it.
Right.
It's like
Right.
beautiful.
It's a focus of energy and intention.
Yeah, and then in a way, what I like about it is it turns your whole home into an altar.
Yes. It's
Every,
beautiful, isn't it?
yeah, like every inch of your space has the potential to be a place to practice spirituality.
Right.
And
Well, and a place to put put meaningful ideas, objects, energy, thoughts, prayers that help to focus and remind you consistently of the things that you're trying to manifest in your life. I mean, I talk a fair amount about manifesting,
Mhm.
and I do some of this by, oh, I want this, so I'm going to put pictures of this here so that I every time I see them, that's serving as that reminder,
Yep,
right?
yep. And so, really, what this is doing is giving somebody a framework or a lens to formalize it a little bit more. I also like to make sure people know, you need not uh, commit to or be practicing any of these particular religions. And if someone is not religious, atheist or maybe very committed to a particular path and concerned about deviating outside of it, we can work with that. There are
Right.
things that we can do to um, cultivate that wise, connected place, and to draw in the tradition and beliefs that you work with in order to make the work work. So,
And that's beautiful because, right? So then every piece of your house is sacred and intentional, like you said.
yeah.
When Michelle told me about your session together, I was really impressed with your commitment to amplifying whatever it is that Michelle wanted to do, and then focused on areas of the house. A lot of people, because I do house clearings, they want to clear the whole house. And I get it because for me, it's about balancing everything so that it's all cohesive, right? So that you can move into every space of your house, which is different than being intentional and amplifying. Can you tell us, first of all, without getting too nosy about Michelle's place, would
Mm-hmm.
love to hear about how you work with the amplification and honing in. And that's the other thing is that I think a lot of people get so excited that they want to do everything all at once.
Yeah.
And the healing path is actually piece by piece by piece.
Yeah. It's way too over. I mean, if someone wants to do that, they can do that. And I would say that would take a while, right? And what I would say is feng shui it's a system of it's like a healing modality. And if you think of looking at a home, you diagnose it much the same way as you would someone dealing with a physiological imbalance in the body. And so when someone comes in and says, I want to work on these things, then you look at their concerns compared to the home, you come up with a diagnosis, and that's how you figure out the highest priority sectors or guas, the quadrants of the bagua to focus on. But yeah, if you were to, go beyond that, it can be overwhelming. I think, I've had my own feng shui consultations and it has taken me months to implement some of the things. It's just like you'd be surprised how long it can take. And so the needs of the person changes,
Mhm.
right? And what they're dealing with can change and they make a remedy and then we see what happens. It's like, okay, you've had one session of acupuncture, we use these needles. How did you feel this week? What happened? And someone may come back in a year and say, these things have changed. There's something new bubbling up. I have different goals and we focus on different areas of the house. But yeah, the other thing that can influence it is if you're one person's feng shui in a home might not support the next person moving into it, right? Like we all have a blend of elements that we express based on our birth date. It's something called 9-star key astrology. So we also look at what are the kind of like potential concerns, superpowers, challenges that person has the potential to be dealing with, and then based on that, looking at what quadrant of the house might also want to be augmented in order to give them a little bit of a leg up as they navigate their life path.
I have a question here, Marie,
Yes.
which really wasn't on my intended list, but now we've kind of gone there, and I know you know a lot about it. Can you share with us just a couple more minutes about what 9-key astrology is? Because I
Yeah.
know you use it in your other practices as well.
Yeah. So 9-star key astrology is often referred to as feng shui astrology, and it works with the bagua. If those familiar with feng shui, it's the 9 square grid that we use to superimpose over a floor plan. But gosh, I wish I had a visual. Maybe I can share one with you later. We often see it. There's these solid and dashed lines that there are 9 of them, and that they're the basis of the I Ching. They're a representation of the 5 elements, And really, when we break everything down, there are two versions of wood, a yin and yang wood, a yin and yang metal, fire, water, yin and yang earth, and then an earth element that we identify at the center of the bagua. And each of these have like an energetic signature, a quality that they bring forth in nature, like, you know, as well as in ourselves, in our humans. Like, I mean, for instance, like, Michelle, may I share one of them that you?
Yeah.
So one that you inhabit, like offer or work with, is something called yang metal, and it's very powerful, very royal. It's very yang. Some, you know, in terms of yin and yang, yin is often seen as feminine, yang is seen as masculine. So it has a certain like
Boldness.
archetypally masculine, um, very regal, very powerful, often dealing with issues around money, generosity with money, stepping into one's power, holding power. There's a archetypal symbolic image of heaven, like almost like the highest expression of like what heaven could mean to someone, like heaven's mandate, or like a divine right rulership. And so that's just one kind of energy. I happen to have yin metal. It's a little bit softer. It still has like a royalty theme to it, but it's a little bit more like Princess Diana, a little bit more like wanting everybody to feel welcome, a little, you know, humanitarian concerns, a little energetically sensitive. And so they're similar in theme.
Jane Goodall.
Yeah. And even I would say, like, I don't know what Jane Goodall's 9-star key is, but
I have no idea, but she's regal, but in a very soft and gentle way.
yes, and she's doing, it's like she has a deep concern for humanity, or for like the earth, the planet.
Yep.
When I think of her, I also think of being in the woods, being in nature. So I think I'll have to go look her up. Like,
I don't know.
there's
I don't
some
know.
wood element in there. Or,
Yeah, I have no
no,
idea.
earth.
Very curious. Now we need to know what's Jane Goodall's astrology.
But
We want to talk a little bit more about how you work with clients,
yeah.
and what services you are bringing to people. And why don't you take a minute or two to sort of describe your offering, and then I'm going to take a minute or two and describe my experience, because people should hear about it.
Yeah. Well, I am an acupuncturist. I have a brick and mortar practice in Albany, California. And I have a heavy emphasis in my practice on treating depression, anxiety, stress, women's health. I see a lot of women 40 to 60, perimenopausal, menopausal, dealing with burnout, overwork, kind of like reclaiming their energy after parenting kids or overgiving at their job. And I also offer Feng Shui consultations. I have a really fun 100-minute remote Feng Shui sessions. Someone might be thinking, how can you do that? We do it with a floor plan and a video tour, and it's really effective. It's the way that the sessions can be affordable. And I have a series of online programs I'm rolling out. And hopefully by the time, my anticipation is by the time this is broadcasting, your listeners can have access to a free training on, you know, an introduction to the 5 elements, if they're interested in sort of geeking out a little bit more on this stuff.
We're all about geeking out, all about geeking.
Yeah.
So
So
I was the lucky recipient of a Marie Bowser remote Feng Shui evaluation, assessment, recommendations. Not sure what it's called, but it was great. So it was really easy. Marie had me answer some questions in a little form about what was important to me. And so, I had a chance to say, well, this is what I really want, and could kind of help provide sort of the right backdrop. And then right now I live in an apartment. So I just stole the floor plan from the apartment place and told Marie who lived where and sent that over to her. And then filmed a little, I don't know, 2 or 3 minute video on my phone walking around the apartment, sort of like, and this is the front door, and this is over here, and this is where I sit. And sent that to Marie. And then we had an appointment a few weeks later, and uh, Marie had studied everything, reviewed it, and written this nice presentation about what was going on so that we had sort of a talking document, but also something for me to take home. And she had great observations about what I had already done that was good, but she also was like, well, you really could do something about this. And what about doing that? And creative solutions for things that I kind of knew were, suboptimal feng shui, but you live in an apartment and you kind of get what you get.
Mhm.
So, but it was an outstanding experience, left me feeling high and empowered and excited about things to do. And have I put them all in place? It's been, I think, 10 days, and absolutely not. But I did move the big plant by the front door, so that there's a little bit better chi coming down the walkway, and that felt good.
Good.
And I got lots more to do, but it's been wonderful. Cynthia, what questions do you have for Marie?
well, it's a little bit not feng shui, but it is. So I'm always about the connections between the two. And then when you start talking about the bagua, the grid, and then I think about acupuncture and the grid or the systems
Yep.
when they're, what are the similarities? Because we don't really talk about acupuncture a whole lot on this show either.
Yeah.
So I would love to know the similarities because that's the thing that fascinates me always.
Yeah, they're so they're absolutely connected. There is a system of acupuncture that relies on linking the each of the trigrams. A trigram is a combination of those dashed and straight lines that represent one of these elements. And there are meridians connected to the trigrams, and we can use the interrelationship between the trigrams to create a balanced acupuncture treatment. And each of the, like a little bit more globally, kind of popping up, getting a little, that's very like nuts and bolts, very refined. And it is something that I use in my practice with acupuncture, but a little bit more globally, each of the guas has an element. Every element has an associated organ system. Every gua has a related potential health issue. And so there is a way you can use health issues as a reflection of what's happening in the house as well. So, I think I wouldn't go so far as to say like healing someone's bloating would solve like a mold problem in a house. But I wonder, or it's posed to me that solving dampness issues in your home could, solve dampness issues in your body. I mean, that's very practical, but like even if, let's say, you caught frequent colds and there was a part of your home that was a little drafty, would, working on the exterior of your home kind of bolster up your own immunity? I mean, these are arguments in feng shui that I would make, or this is what feng shui is posing as a possibility.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I do have one more question for you. So when I go in for house clearings, first of all, I do house clearings for people who are for realtors.
Mm.
So if sellers are having a hard time selling their house, what I do is I take a little bit more of their energy out, call in some energy of what the potential buyer is, and then you actually get a feel of what the new buyer is going to be because the house is already calling it in.
Mm-hmm.
The other people that call me are having big challenges that, and you know this because of Feng Shui. So it's divorce, empty nest syndrome, and they're a little bit sad. And so what I do is I balance out the energy so they don't feel as much of the loss, or it gets a little bit of the emotion out so that the house is supporting the owner, and then the owner can go ahead and feed back to the house, that kind of relationship.
Yeah.
Let's pretend you and I are working together,
Yeah.
and I have someone, and they have gotten their house clearing. They are now balanced out. I'm thinking of someone in mind who had really, really bad empty nest syndrome. She had a divorce, and then right after, the kids went to school, so it was like double loneliness, I think is the best way to say.
Mm.
Um, and of course, because she wants to feel so much, and she's got this big house, um what would your next steps be?
Yeah.
Says, yeah, look, so this is the setup, and I know there's not enough information.
Yeah.
As a for instance, where would you like to, where would you ask this person to focus on, or what would your
Yeah.
questions be, and why?
And are they partnered? Is there a partner in the home, or are they?
No,
Okay.
no. So
So
it is all about being independent when they've been family, mom and wife for all these years.
yeah. Well, I mean, a big aspect of this would be having a deep conversation about, like, yeah, are you comfortable feeling your feelings? Is there any resistance to that? If there is, we could work on nourishing the wisdom corner of the home, like really just getting them dropped in and finding like a place of um, kind of like philosophical spaciousness, self acceptance, and feeling comfortable feeling those hard feelings. That'd be one thing. I would be asking them, like, are you wanting partnership? Is it interesting to you to date, or to cultivate deeper friendships one on one? We could work on partnership. We could work on the helpful people gua. Also, kind of like, what next wants to show up? Do you need a coach? Do you need a therapist? Like, just calling in the right next person. I mean, we could work on children and creativity. That could help harmonize the relationships with her kids, but also spark some creative inspiration. Like, she might need a hobby. I don't know. Maybe doing something in that area will instigate, like, well, what's coming in next?
Right.
It could go in so many directions, and it would be through that conversation and seeing where she lights up and respond to know kind of where we're headed. Yeah.
I love that. I think that's beautiful, Marie. And I'm so thankful for getting to know you, getting to know more and more of your offerings. Cinthia and I are so glad we were able to host you today on Mind Power Meets Mystic. We will be updating the website with your links and offers and so forth as all of that comes up. So thanks for being on our show today.
Thank you both so much for having me. This was fun, and yeah, enjoy the podcast.
Great time.
Great. Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.